Hi, my name's Libby. I'm 36 years old and I'm actually going to die of metastatic breast cancer. And I just wanted to talk for a minute about like metastatic breast cancer and how it doesn't really get any attention, especially in young women. So I woke up this morning and, I'm home in my house by myself. That's how I will spend the rest of my days, home alone by myself in my house doing nothing because COVID. Um, I saw like another article on COVID and like how we're taking all of these measures to like stop COVID. It was actually an article on how some people were like protesting against some of the measures. And it was actually saying that they were right wing extremists because anyone who protests against this is actually like a racist now, thanks to our media. So that was interesting. But what struck me is like just really ironic is just how our media is just drawing so much attention to COVID just over and over and over again. There's literally nothing in our media anymore. There's no other news. The only thing that's happening in the entire world is COVID-19. And here I am, like legit dying of something else. And no one's going to pay attention to what I'm dying from. And people have been dying from this since the dawn of time, and no one's paying attention to what I'm dying from or that I'm some young woman who's going to die from some terrible disease because we all think that that's not going to affect us. And like maybe COVID is. So we're paying attention to that. But, you know, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that this was going to affect me. So I think that there does need to be attention paid to something like this as well, a cause of death like this, because people can and do die of this as well. And it's so crazy to me that we can pay so much attention to COVID, but that we don't pay any attention to like a cause of death like this. Like there's no information about it, out there for young women. So, as a young woman, when I was diagnosed with this, I actually had no idea that I could be diagnosed with it. I had no clue that that happened. And maybe if I had known that, like I would have been paying more attention. Um, our preventive healthcare. So in Canada, our physicians, there's like a task force federally, and that task force tells our physicians like what they should be doing for cancer prevention. So I'm just going to let you in on a little secret here. So our Canadian Task Force for Preventive Care, like here's what they're saying that the physicians should be doing to help prevent this kind of diagnosis in young women and help make sure it gets diagnosed early. So they're actually doing absolutely fucking nothing. Might be interesting for you to find out. Our preventive task force is actually telling our physicians, not to do clinical exams on young women's breasts. So if you're under the age of 50, they're not going to do like an examination at your physical. And there's no screening either. They're not going to do any sort of like standardized risk assessment for you as a young woman to see if you have an increased cancer risk because of something in your family. They're not going to talk to you about breast cancer so that you're aware. They're not going to show you how to do a good breast examination so that you can find your cancer early. They're actually going to do absolutely nothing. And that's what they're being told by our task force to do. So if you love a young woman or you are a young woman, you should know that they're actually doing nothing. So there's no like breast examination at your yearly physical that would help you find your breast cancer early. And they're not showing you how to effectively do a breast exam so that you could find your breast cancer early. And they're not assessing you to see whether you should be going for your screenings early. They're actually doing nothing. So as a young woman or someone who loves a young woman, you should know that young women, they are actually, they have to find their breast lump themselves, which you're not going to do till stage 2 or 3. And I'm going to let you know that I found mine at stage 3. I found it at stage 3A. And within a year, it was stage 4. And within 2 years, it was in like 15 different bones of my body. And I was being told that I had like maybe another 2 years to live. Found it at stage 3. So as a person feeling your breast, like you're not going to find it till stage 2 or 3. So you should be aware of that. And then when you do find it, even though no one's given you any information to tell you that young women can get this, even though you have no idea of that, you actually have to figure out that that's a breast lump. And then you have to go to your doctor. And when you go to your doctor, they're going to be like, oh, you're too young for that. So you have to fight them. You have to fight with them, a lot of your doctors, that you're not too young with it to even have it assessed. So you would have to know that it was probably breast cancer. You would have to have found it, and then you would have to go to your physician, and then you would have to fight with your physician to even get that breast lump assessed. So that's a lot of things that are on you as a young woman. And while you're doing this, you're going to be being distracted by things like jobs. You're going to be distracted by things like having kids. And if you are trying to have kids, your breasts might be getting bigger or smaller, and they might just be doing that with your periods as well. And it's up to you that even though that breast lump might become hidden with more fat when you get pregnant or something like that, or your breasts are changing, it's still up to you to find that breast lump on your own, because no one else is going to be assessing you. And then when you're diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, your chances of dying from it are 100%. But pretty much nothing new is being done to help that chance of dying go down. Like, there's very little research, there's very little awareness. A lot of the research dollars are actually going into a lot of the dollars going into charity are going into awareness. But it's too late for you to be aware because you already have it. And so few of those dollars are going towards research or anything that can help you now. You're pretty much a write-off. I'm a write-off. So that's really super great as well. We're not doing anything to help these women with stage 4 cancer. So you might think, well, this is such a low percentage of the population. Of course, we're not worried about something that's happening to so few people, but it's not. It's not a low percentage of the population, because 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer in their lifetime. And 25% of those cases are being diagnosed before the screening age in Canada of 50. 25% of those cases. And of those cases that are diagnosed of breast cancer, about 1 in 3 of those cases is actually going to become stage 4 breast cancer. But once you get to stage 4 breast cancer, there's so few research dollars being put into it that you're screwed. And it just astounds me, like, looking at the difference between how this disease that kills so many women. So in Canada today, 1 in 33 women is going to die from breast cancer, and we're doing so little about it. Imagine if we took the gargantuan effort, or even 1% of the gargantuan effort that we've put towards, COVID-19, of awareness that it can happen in young women. If we put the gargantuan effort that we put towards these vaccines, even a tiny little bit of that, towards finding better treatments and cures for breast cancer. And what about screening? We're spending so much money testing everybody for COVID-19 over and over and over and over again. But for women with breast cancer, we're doing nothing for women who are under 50 years old. We know that the BRCA gene in our population, lots of these young women actually find out that they have the BRCA gene. I don't have it, but I know somebody who got breast cancer in their 20s who carried the BRCA gene. What if we population screened for the BRCA gene to find out who had it and because if you have it, it has an 80% penetrance. So 80% of the people who are diagnosed or who carry the BRCA gene are actually going to be diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetime. If those people knew they carried that gene, they could do something about it. But we don't do population screening, and our doctors don't talk to their patients about that. So what a lost opportunity that is. And we're shutting down our whole economy. We're basically shutting down our whole entire economy, and all of our newscasters, that's all they're talking about for this COVID-19. But we are doing nothing for something that kills 1 in 8 of our women. And we are doing even less for the women like myself who are unlucky enough to get this at the prime of their lives, who are not told that they can get it, who are not assessed to see if they're at risk for it, who are not given clinical breast exams by their doctors to help them identify it early, who are not given any screening. We are doing nothing. We have the technology, but we do nothing. How does that make any sense?